This episode is brought to you by Bellator's Publishing, bringing stories to the world that last forever.
Hello and welcome to Faithfully Fantasy,
The husband and wife podcast talking all things fantasy fiction.
I'm JC.
And I'm Sean.
And today we're recording live on Instagram as we dive into our book club for the strength of the few. We'll be exploring key topics from the saga and some theories about the next book. Plus, before we leave, we'll give you all the rating for the book. And just a heads up, we might use strong language and explore adult themes.
It goes without saying that obviously this episode is going to be absolutely chock full of spoilers for the Hierarchy series. But if you haven't read it, you'll be thinking we're speaking in three totally different languages because, well, if you know, you know. Yeah. So without further ado, let's start with the hot topics of the few. So this is the part of the book club where we will dive into the moments and debates that we can't stop talking about in our home, and also the scenes that broke us, again, if you know, you know, and the questions keeping us awake at night still a week after we finished the book.
Okay, shall we start then with the world building?
Yeah, so we quite literally, in this book, went from one world to three at the end of The Will of the Many. The world got massive, all of a sudden. So we had to get to grips with Lucium, we had to get to grips with Obertium, we had to get to grips... Well, we didn't so much with Res, because that's kind of our comfort zone. And I felt that all the way through the book, so I felt Res was easy to read, because I had spent a whole book with Arvis. And I struggled a little bit with Obertium. Those of you that have listened to the read along, you'll know that I listened to it and then really struggled with the audiobook. So I had to go back each week and read all of the chapters in Res together, all of the chapters in Lucium together, and all of the chapters in Obertium together. So I was skipping around, only obviously after the first time I'd read it in the order that you're supposed to read it in.
Yes.
And Obertium was the hardest for me to really get into, but by the end I absolutely loved it. I was obsessed.
Yeah, for me it was Lucian. That was the one that I was struggling so much to understand what was going on, because obviously this was talking to people were talking in different language that he couldn't understand, so it was a long way that you were trying to guess what was going on. But yes, the three worlds, it was just mental. And I started with the audiobook first. And the funny part is that in the audiobook at the beginning, they won't say where we all were. So you had to guess for the characters,
yours
for everything.
Weirdly, all of a sudden started saying it after chapter 6.
Chapter 62, I noticed.
Mine doesn't still. It still is just chapter 41, chapter 72, and it just launches into it, and it's I remember my dad once told me, and I was where are we? Which world are we in?
Yes, but it was, I think, maybe an update, because it was when I was in chapter 62 that I heard perfectly Obertium, they finally realized the little symbols, it means that. Because after that, it was chapter 70 something, Res or Lucian. So every chapter you have it. But then when I went back to number 1, then it started to say it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So I found the physical book much easier to get to grips with. For Lucium, for me, I just wanted to say that we didn't get a lot of... So the revelations all came in Obertium and Res really early on. The revelations for Elvis, Luciumvis, all came quite far in the book. So when he saw Cristobal and got kind of the download from that, he got a bit of a download from Leah, he got a bit of a download from Tara, and they all came at the end. So it felt like Elvis was just completely unaware of everything that was going on, whereas Ovis got a download pretty early on, because obviously he had his buddy.
Yes.
And there's obviously going to be spoilers. He had Zero with him. So it's a different book, isn't it, to The Will of the Many, because you're in Res all the time.
Yes, and the magic as well, because you start to get to how the magic works, and Res, and then Obertium and Lucium works differently.
Yeah, I love it
learning
though
as well,
because it is like reading 3 different books, and you're like, oh, a new. One of my favorite things about fantasy is getting to grips with the magic system, and with this one, I got to do it 3 times, and I'm still not sure I'm fully understanding the will in Lucium, and I don't think we're supposed to, but people can kind of shout at us if no, it's obvious. Why don't you know? So yeah, that's how I feel about the world building. It's like 0 to 60 in, or 0 to 120 and about 3 chapters.
Yeah. Right. Should we move on to characters?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we can see a massive evolution between the Vis, the starter, and the will of the many, to the one who finished and destroyed the field, and specifically the one from Res. I think it's as well because these 3 worlds are telling us that according with the environment, that affects the character one way to another one. That's why we start to see like we had 3 different Vis. They have maybe 3 different like core values.
Yeah, and Viz at Lucium, at the beginning, he's just kind of like, oh, you know what? I'm on a holiday. I'm in a spa town, and it's perfect. I'm working on a farm. I'm doing a bit of childcare, and he literally does not want to go back. He's like, for the first time, I feel
really happy in a farm.
It's where he belongs. Yeah, and it takes him a while to build back up that like to the fight, and he doesn't really know what he's fighting for in Lucium either, does he? In Obitium, he's just non-stop, and he's like totally. Oh, I mean, he's on it all the time. He's doing. I wonder how many steps he gets in between Duat and what's the other place? Netakatet, the like cemetery place. He goes back and forward, back and forward. Only one time he gets carried by a cleaner in their hands. Like yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really gory, isn't it? Who's your favourite character in the whole book? Because we did this every week in the read-along. Who was your favourite overall character?
Oh, it's a hard question because obviously according with different stages of the chapters, you go for one to another one. I really like this and how this story is like affecting him in 3 different realms. But I think maybe are the secondary character, the one that maybe giving more strength to the main character. So I really like Ostios because we still don't know like what is the background story, what he's doing by the end of the book, because he disappears as well. Maybe he disappeared literally in Lucian, or I don't know.
Yeah. I was going to say the same. Ostius is the most intriguing. Obviously, we spend so much time with the 3 different Visses that Vis is going to be the favorite character, I think, which is obvious. But of the side characters, I really like Aiden. He does a lot of things, and I think because it took us so long to read the book, because we did like 10 chapters a week, you forget about what he did early on, where he basically held on to some of Vis's will to get him past the first stage of the governance kind of testing. Yeah, at the end, he's just with him, isn't he? He's like, I'm in, I'm with you. I'm going to say the Hail Vis line at the end of the book. I already know that the Ayuncti version of the Clever Hedgehog, Calidus Orisius. Yes. It's going to be my favourite character because he was brilliant in the first book. Yeah, major spoiler alert on that one. The kind of theme of the book in the first one, and we kept talking about this, was the power and how, like, quoting Esteban at the Naumachia, the strength of the pyramid is in its base, and how the hierarchy and the way that they seed the will in Res, this is specifically about Res, is kind of a metaphor, isn't it, for a capitalist society where you're like all the worker drones are working for to make the rich people richer, and with power they become corrupted, and obviously not always, but the potential to become corrupt when you have so much power is there. I think we got a really different perspective of that in The Strength of the Few, because we had the three different worlds. So obviously the hierarchy is the hierarchy in Res, but then in Lucium we had the Dree, who kind of had all the will and nobody else had access to it. And they were treated as gods, basically. And then in Obertium, it was really counterintuitive, wasn't it? How the will was used to give life to things that should not be alive. Because it felt like such a dead place. Like they couldn't breathe the air. The water has to... I do not know how people can drink the water once it's been through a body. It doesn't seem like the best filtration situation, does it? But yeah, it was quite interesting to see in the three worlds how the power dynamic was. Also can see why people find that a little bit confusing, because you're swinging between the two.
Yeah, I found this book really interesting is in the part that it's really hard to put it in just maybe one place, because yes, it could be like fantasy, but at the same time it's a book that it reflects really well how society works in our current society. So that is for another side. Then the mystery, the plot and that kind of stuff. Sometimes you forget there's like fantasy because you're so into what's going on with the character.
Yeah.
Sometimes like the will is like you forget it's a thing in the book as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later with one of my major theories for the series. But I think it's going quite sci-fi. Okay. Not in the space sense, but in the fantasy. Space-time continuum space.
What about the pacing of the book? Do you think there is a book that is giving you a lot of detail and is necessary, or maybe it's just too much and maybe it can be like overwhelming for all the stuff that's going on?
Well, I think The Will of the Many can be quite overwhelming for people. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and I keep saying one of because I'm obviously like a little bit scared to commit to it, but I genuinely do think The Will of the Many might be my favorite book I've ever read. And when you pick it up, it's quite a chunk of a book, and it's teeny tiny writing and it's complex. It's engineering, but engineering with a strange magic system. You've got so many different characters. The names are quite tricky to get used to because they're all like they're all Latin names. And then when you get to the Strength of the Few, you've got Gaelic names. I know that it's built on ancient Egypt, but I don't know I would imagine it's the same. It's kind of like Egyptian names like Netikret and Ka. But I think in terms of the pacing, I feel like it goes Lucium's slow. But then what I found really interesting was the Lucium chapters. They always ended with like a little bit of a taster of what was to come, because I feel like the editor, I don't know if that was James Islington or it might have been the editor that said, look, this Lucium's a bit slow. You need a bit of a sentence that says what's going to happen in the next chapter so that people want to go back to Lucium. There's a few, maybe one that I remember was, it was all really peaceful until the day the Dree arrived. And then you're like, oh, they're going to arrive. But then you go back to Lucium in a few chapters' time, and it takes ages for the Dree to arrive. So it's a strange thing.
Yes, just to obviously keep you just interest to like, yes, something's going on and this timeline. So just keep reading.
Yeah, and then at the end, you're like, it's the same with The Will of the Many, though. You're like, feel like you're just kind of like jogging along, and then all of a sudden you fall off a cliff. You're like, wah! That's how do you think?
I know there is a big book, but to be honest, when you're reading it, it doesn't feel that much. I don't know if maybe it's because we split in for a few chapters every week, but when I was reading those chapters, it went really quick for me. So it doesn't feel that maybe, you can just maybe have all the story just in few pages or few chapters, because it feels that everything is just necessary to keep you going and also to give you a break. Because when we had 3 realms, obviously, and the 3 realms are happening stuff at the same time, it's a moment that you feel that just like you need a break. You're like fatigued for all the stuff that's going on. So I think it's well paced and it's necessary.
Yeah, I think just like one more thing on pacing, The Will of the Many gets quite a little bit of criticism when they're at the academy for it being a bit slow and then they're having lots of classes. I loved The Will of the Many so much that I was just like, I could stay here forever. I could stay in the academy and I just like have some lunch and I'm like hanging out with Vis's friends and I don't really need something to happen. And I did find myself at one point thinking, I know it's all going to go bad in a bit. I don't want it to. I want to just keep it. I just want to keep it the same. We are about to do some theories in the next section. So if you are watching live and you want to put your theories in the chat or even kind of your feelings about the book, we can come on to them at the end. So if you're watching live. So should we go for the theories?
Okay. Should we go to the will or the maybe?
For one last time, this series. This is the part of the show where we will lock in our predictions for the rest of the book in the hopes that we get at least something right by the end of the series. Before we start, I think we should reflect on how we did. Because for those of you that are listening live and may not have followed along with our read-along, we were... At the end of each episode, we have the will of the many. The will of the maybe. And we would like predict what was going to happen before the end of the book. And we got quite a lot right. We got quite a lot right. We got quite a lot wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But the big things, like the thing that happened with Christoval, we saw that coming.
We said there would be like gods as well.
Oh, yeah. That's
Ka is kind of like the god. Was dedicated. Well, he'd been considered a god.
Oh, okay.
Over Tien. So.
Oh, yeah, and over Tien, yes, but yeah.
So that was one. Then Christoval was there, as you say.
Calidus.
We will see Calidus.
Yeah. Can't remember. We should have got the list of what we predicted at the end of the other ones. Anyway, so what did we predict this time? Maybe I'll start. I'll start with that each Vis represents a different moral path. So the 3 Vis versions will mean Lucium is kind of like the chilled out, the obedient Vis, the one that does what he's supposed to. Although he doesn't. He does rebel against his dad at one point. But then in Obertium, you've got the one that's like fighting like against one particular person and he's constantly rebelling. He's going to attack Ka. And then you would think that the rebellious one would be in Res, but actually the one that's becoming quite morally grey is the Res Vis. So kind of how does the environment you grow up in or the environment that you are in shape the person that you become? Mm-hmm. And there's a few things with Vis that we see in Res where he leaves Reliquia in the Sapper. That for us, like it really did bug us. We were like, what? We were outraged. We thought that just would not be Vis. But actually, when you start to see how he's going, he's doing some pretty morally grey things, isn't he? And he's literally raised an army of dead.
And left Reliquia in a Sapar, something that for him, maybe from the will of the many, it was something unthinkable.
Yeah, there's no way he would have done that.
Yeah.
But you started to see as well, the more will he got, the more he wanted. Mm-hmm. And he was starting to feel really weak without it. And he was, he's really gone over to the dark side.
He started to see the benefit of just carry on if he's really hard with will, and then obviously he gets to it really quick, and now he wants more as well.
Yeah. Have you seen any wild theories, or have you got any wild theories?
A few. So the next one for me is I think some people think the same that maybe from these 3 rounds, just one of these is actually the real one. And then the other 2 could be maybe like echo from this Vis. So I'm not sure how to take it if maybe we have like a fracture not only in space, but also in time. But it's something that as I'm thinking that maybe it could be just from this 3 point of view. One is like the present, and the other ones, even when they had their own present, there is no like real. I don't know if we're not
yeah, I think that's similar to my theory, where the three realms they're parallel, so they're happening at the same time. But if they weren't, they were supposed to be sequential. So you had Lucium first, then you have Res, and then you have Obitium. So you've got the Lucium is how things were, Res is how things are, and Obitium is how things will be. And then, so this gets really cool when you start to think about the words. So we've got the concurrents, who are we don't know really, do we, who's the bad guy? We don't know if it's Ka or if it's the concurrents. But if you say the concurrents they talked about the rending in The Will of the Many. And when you look at what a rending is in sci-fi, it is a tear in the space-time continuum. So the concurrents could mean that they are the people that split the time. So you've got the timeline that's supposed to happen sequentially is happening concurrently because of concurrence. So you've got it kind of feels right, doesn't it? Lucium is kind of like the old world. There's not a lot of technology. Not everyone has access to this magic. People live simply. They don't have transvects flying around the place. And then Res is where a few core people have access to the will, and then they start to realize that the will comes from people and it's just in the air, and actually they can sap it directly from the people. So then the people that can do that get higher and higher, and then you're in this Res situation. And then Obitium is when you start to realize that you can kind of imbue from your will, and you can put it into things and make the things that are supposed to be dead be alive. And then they've got these armies of dead people, and they've destroyed the planet. The key things that work for this theory is that it's all happening on Solivargus. It's all on the same island. And obviously the words rending, concurrence, the fact that it feels like a dystopian future in Obitium, the fact that it feels like a modern day society, and although it's Roman, feels very much like the transvects, like trains, and you've got lights that are will imbued, you've got moving doors and stuff. And Lucium doesn't have any of that. So it definitely feels like there's a time situation.
I mean, it totally makes sense when you start to think about that way. And it would be like really cool if maybe in some point we find out that maybe this car or the person who was before this actually was maybe after this. And then we start to see there's maybe
a loop.
Yes, a loop. And maybe this as the first one, but he is maybe Lucian when everything started. And from there, it would start to move on to the future.
But I do feel like, so Viz is definitely experiencing them at the same time, because if he gets hurt in one, he gets hurt in another. So the whole point, I think the fact that we had the rending is it was an event that split the world into three. And the concurrents are trying to get it, maybe it was an accident. Maybe the concurrents need to get it back together so that they can rule the one thing because they've lost control. Or maybe maybe the concurrents don't want to. And that is basically what makes more sense to me because of the name, the concurrents. It's like they made it all happen concurrently. Yeah, one person, though, has shared with us, or maybe a few people said the same thing when I shared this theory on Reddit, that there are some the ruins at Fornax in Lucium resemble Res. They're kind of like very modern. That to me would just mean that Lucium came after Res, but that feels like it's because of the loop. So we're stuck in this like time loop, and Vis will break that and put it back to normal. And then the other thing that could mean that this theory is a little bit wacky is that everybody thinks the concurrents are the ones that are trying to merge it back together. not the other way around, but I think they probably split it.
Yeah, it's really interesting if I sort of think about there's maybe a timeline issue or difference, and then eventually everything's going to be one specific timeline, but in different parts of their history.
Yeah.
I was never meant to love a human. But then, I saw her. I wasn't supposed to touch that fruit, but I took it, and I ate it. I was the most loyal of angels, until I lost her. Now they call me the devil, and I'll burn heaven itself before I lose her again.
Memoirs of Luzbel, a dark fantasy novel. Book 1 of the Luzbel Saga. Now available on Amazon.
What is really clear, though, is that nobody has the full picture of what's going on, because Viridius doesn't, even though he just went AWOL at the end of the book, or we have no idea where he is. Zero in Obertium has one story. Zero in Lyceum has a totally different story. And he's like, one of your people messed up. And how did he even know that? Because he's obviously got some way of knowing.
Yes.
I think Zero must know Car in Lyceum, and Car felt his other person.
Well, I think if we have somebody like Ostios, that he can move between realms from Lyceum to Res, I think it's fair enough to think that maybe we have somebody that can move from Lyceum to Obertium.
Do you think?
How he found out?
How does Ostius? No, so I think...
Like somebody from...
I think Zero is working with Car in
Obertium.
Lyceum. Yeah, because so this is where we differ, because I think that, when Zero says one of your counterparts has made a mistake, I am convinced that is actually...
Talking about this from Res.
Yeah. And then it doesn't make sense that he would be with Car. I don't know. It blows my mind when I think about it too much.
Okay, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do another one.
So the next theory is that one of the V's will betray the other ones. And I think we start to see that maybe will be the one from Res. He did this thing that's waking up all this army
zombies.
Of dead people.
Are they zombies?
Pretty much, that's what
technically
it means.
zombies.
They die and they
But they
come
don't
back.
eat each other. They just don't need to eat. They're not zombies.
Yes. I don't know. I guess it all depends on which movie you watch.
They're more like Inferi in Harry Potter.
Are zombies
like
in
an
Harry
army.
Potter?
Inferi. They're called the Inferius.
Huh.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, don't you remember? They're in the lake in the cave. And then when he puts his arm in, they're like...
No, they're zombies. I thought you were like, I don't know, kind
No,
of.
they're just reanimated corpses.
All right.
Which is exactly what Yunkti are.
Yes. Cool. But yes, I think Viz from Res is going to get so much power. He's going to rule military. Probably he will try to rule the other two pyramids. So he's going to be like the ultimate.
Do you think he'll do
princess.
good with it?
I think his intention will be that. He was going to say, I had to do it because it's the only way to make sure there's justice in this world. And then once he's on the top is when he's going to be just...
So corrupted.
Yes.
Oh, that's so sad. And then, yeah, it links to the theory that Elvis will have to defeat Arvis in the end. There's two possibilities, isn't there? So I like the fact that one Vis has got it wrong and we don't know which one it is. There's two possibilities. It's got to be either the one that joined Car in Res, and he's made a huge mistake by not defeating Car in Res, or it could have been the one in Obertium who did defeat Car, and so Car is no longer synchronous. I think we're supposed to think it's the one in Obertium because it came first. But if all of these things are happening at the same time, then it would make more sense for James Islington to try and trick us into thinking it's the one in Obertium, but it's actually the one in Res that's made a mistake. But we don't know. It could be that...
Yeah, right now, both could be right.
Yeah. If it's the one in Obertium, then Searaw is working with Carr in Lyceum. But he's only figured that out afterwards because Viridius thinks you have to defeat Carr because he told Vis that. We're going to have a conversation with Viridius at the beginning of the next book, right?
Yes.
The other theory, so there's one theory where the Lyceum Vis has to defeat the Res Vis, but there's another one where the three Vises will eventually merge and come back to themselves because the cataclysm either happens or is stopped and they all merge back together.
It would be interesting to see if this happened, then they merge into just one again. Then that means that all the memories from each one of the terrains are going to be
merged together.
Yes, just in one. Or we're just going to find a totally one different Vis. One that maybe...
It'd be so weird, wouldn't it? If all of a sudden one day you were like walking along and then there was three of you and then you got merged back together and you had no idea. It would be... I mean, obviously it'd be weird because it's like sci-fi or fantasy. The question is, if they merge back together, would they be this all-powerful Vis or would they just be Vis?
Okay, so next one. Some people might think, oh, yes, they could think that one of the realms could be like a simulation. Something that maybe is for, I don't know if is to maybe giving a boost to the wheel or to enhance the magic in one of these realms. Is, like the Matrix. The Matrix is just applied when you put the people to grab the energy from the people so the machines can live. So maybe one of these realms is doing exactly the same. That is keeping the people into this fantasy. They have their lives and they're doing whatever they want.
Lyceum could be the... Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
Matrix theory.
Yeah.
One of the realms.
Yeah, and then, I mean, if it ends in the same way as the Matrix, where Neo just like blasts himself into one of the...
Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, well. I mean, it's been out a long time.
I mean, that was the end of the third movie, but then we had a fourth movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen any of that.
No, okay, so it's not a spoiler then, because we don't know what happens. Okay, so this one I don't necessarily disagree with. I've seen this one. I didn't think of it myself, but I think this is one from Reddit where there'll be this three-way convergence war where there'll be a way that the worlds merge, but everybody is still there and they have this big epic battle between the three worlds. Could happen. I'm not sure who would win, what would be the outcome of it. But yeah, then you'd have a different Viz leading each one and they'd be like, this is Sparta. From Res, obviously, with his army of a Yuncti. And then in Lyceum with his army of Dree and warriors from Lake Trenalor.
So you think there's going to be a third world war?
Yeah, but three worlds. Yeah. And Vis is going to be leading each one. Because obviously now he's basically like the Carr of Obertium because he's just ended that one. So he's going to have to be the boss.
He probably had all the gleaners now working for him.
All of a sudden, the Nomarch might be like awaiting instruction. And they're just like, malfunction. All those poor children.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really creepy Obertium, isn't it?
Yes. And obviously the one from Res with this army of zombies as well.
Yeah.
And the one from Lyceum at the moment, he doesn't look like that he has his own army. Well, he's kind of the king's champion. And he's like having something with Tara.
He's not just the king's champion. He's now like blessed. God. Yeah, he's like blessed with the power of the gods. So people are going to follow him. Talking about the armies that he's got then. The Yuncti, we talked about this last week, the ones in Res, we don't necessarily think that they're all going to accept him because for all we know, when when an Ayuncti comes back, they are basically themselves. Like we had Christoval, he was basically himself. Emissa, right at the beginning, says they walk among us. You don't know who they are. We just don't know who they are. So there's going to be some that come out of the woodwork that we know. Maybe Viridius is one. Just don't know. Have we ever seen him without his top on?
No.
Or maybe that's only a sign in Obertium, isn't it? Because they've got the obsidian blades in them. In Lyceum and Res, they don't have that.
Yeah,
they don't always. They only have
only have was the Vitarian.
Yeah.
And that's it. So
they must all have a
somebody
Vitarian.
with maybe jewelry or something touching the skin.
Yeah, but I remember Searaw saying that nobody wears tops in Netiquette. I get Netiquette and Netiquette mixed up all the time. In Netiquette, they don't wear tops so that people can see that they're not controlled Ayuncti.
Yeah.
They might be a Ayuncti though, just without.
Probably there would be
without the obsidian blade accessory that comes with the ones that are controlled
from the back.
Yeah, maybe.
So another one they have is now we know there's a Zero and Lucian. And we had a guy that can travel between Lucian and Res. So I think...
Wherever he is. Where is Ostius?
Yeah, no idea. But I think in some point, Ostius is going to take Zero and is going to take it to Res. And Zero, we will be able to see Alkiskol, his brother, and Lani. It's going to be a family reunion. There's one of the main things in these books for James Handlington.
Zero from Lyceum.
Yes, traveling to Res.
What do you think happened to Zero from Obertium? I think he's in the sarcophagus. But what do you think? Because you specifically think that it's going to be Zero from Lyceum. You think it's going to be a Ruach that goes back. Only because he can because of Ostia.
Yes.
Yeah. Good point.
Ostius is the connection between the two realms. There's no, at the moment, there's no connection between Obertian and any of the other two realms.
Yeah. Still got the same question though. Even though you're right, it can only be Zero from Lyceum that could travel. And Ostius could be the other way that he knows. Although Ostius wouldn't know.
I don't think he's that involved in Lyceum.
He wouldn't know in Obertium. Yeah, I don't. I think he's just using Lyceum to get to different places, isn't he?
Yeah, I think the only thing that he does is make sure that he pass without being noticed. So he can speak the language, the customs, but it's not that much into what's going on in that realm.
So what do you think happened to Zero in Obertium?
I don't know why, but I'm getting the feeling that we can't trust in the Zero. So I think maybe he is hiding somewhere and he has maybe some convenience or some deal with the Gleaners or with Ka from Obertium.
I think he's in the sarcophagus. Somebody has to be in the sarcophagus, and it can only be him or it can be that girl that was in the garden, the kid.
Yes.
That was in the garden. But that kid knew too much. She knew so much. True. I wonder if she escaped from a Nomarch at some point. And because she's a kid as well.
Yeah.
Like a young girl, isn't she? So I wonder if she escaped from a Nomarch.
True. I wonder if I will see her again in the next book. I mean, now with this as a... Actually, we don't know if he's going to be just the new ruler just because he got rid of the one who was there.
I think if you look at what he's done in Res, he had to physically choose to give his will. I think what could happen in Obertium is that the whole place falls apart without Ka because the will is going down, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's not coming up. It's the opposite way around. It's like it's a parallel upside down world. I think we talked about this before, didn't we? It's like the upside down in Stranger Things.
Yes.
So what could happen then is he's in this pyramid and the whole, like everybody's collapsing because there's nothing powering the Vitarium. That table that he's on feels to me to be the opposite of a sapper. It's kind of like an Aurora alumni, but not, because you're like, he's flat on it, and maybe it is a sapper, but just not a painful one, because he's like oh, he could be, that's maybe where he's receiving the will from the princeps in Res.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going down then to his Yunkti or all those people. But you just would think it would collapse. So maybe Vis has no choice. Maybe he would just like know that everything's falling apart and he feeds his will to it. And the Yunkti or all of a sudden the Gleaners now report to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be an interesting theory to see.
So we've got two armies. The Lucian one's got to be the good one, right?
At the moment, yes. But the one from Albertian, he thinks he's doing the right thing. And even when he was trying to help in one of the Ayantes, he knew that this one was dead, but still he wanted to feel that he was just a human, that he had rights, and he deserved to have a life, even when he wasn't alive.
Super interesting how, like, the third part of the book has the slogan, or it has like a title that's "It's your choices that make you."
Yeah,
like your choices define you. And he's made a choice, hasn't he, to go and take on Ka. The other one's made a choice to raise the army of Yunkti. Lucian Vis made the choice to go to his friends to fight, even though he didn't need to.
Or made the choice to not listen to Zero and destroy Dadiva there. He gives
Oh, that's so annoying. Here's the thing that's going to give you all the answers. Crush.
Don't care. Bye. The end.
The end. Thanks. James Addington was like, I'll deal with that in the next book. Too long.
Yes. And, talking about Ostius, another theory that I have about him is that when he see what this from Res is doing with this army of dead people, he's going to be now against him. So the same way that he was fighting against the hierarchy, now he's going to see that this is just taking over the place of the hierarchy. But the problem is still the same. Too much power for just one person.
Yeah, so Ostius will be... Maybe Ostius then will turn to Lucian. Because he'll be like, oh, I've lost hope now. So then he just goes to Lucian and works with Vis. Yeah, I do think Zero will be able to convince... Zero in Lucian will be able to convince Vis. I do see that happening.
Well, I don't know if maybe one of the plans that he could have is that, okay, I need to get rid of one of these Vis. I can't touch the one from Res because now he's surrendered by this army. But I can go to find the one from Lucian.
Yeah. There is one flaw in the plan, though, isn't it? Or the theory that we think the Vis from Res is going to go all bad. That he's now got Calidus. Calidus wouldn't let him go bad. He's got his mum and his sister. They're not going to let him go bad, are they? Edin is not going to let... Although Edin just was like, don't do it, don't do it. He was like, I'm going to do it. And then Edin was like, all right, I'll stay with you. I'll still be with you. I'm with you no matter what. Yeah. So Edin, I just don't see being that much of an influence, of a good influence. But yeah, I can't see him going completely totally whack unless they die.
Yes.
Like they really don't survive. Like Christopher, where you get a second go at it, but if once you're gone after that.
It could be maybe one of the reasons to make this even worse if he loses the mother of the sister again, and now happens in front of him in a terrible way, like it happened with Iqua. Then he will just go full, just like, okay, I don't care.
Nothing matters anymore.
Else. Yes.
Maybe. Already said, though, at kind of the start of the theory section, that I don't think the whole army of the dead will obey this. So I think some people will turn against him.
Yes. I agree with that one. And another one that I have is this having all this power with this army of dead people, talking about this from Res. I think he will feel confident enough to go back to Diago. So he will present to everyone else as a Diago king or rightful king from Zeus. And he was the one who going to maybe destroy how the hierarchy works, because now he will be the one ruling the hierarchy. So he will be the one who's gonna change how everything works, and that's gonna be the justice of the one, even when maybe the justice for the one is gonna be the injustice for the rest.
Yeah, no, I don't. So I don't think that matters at all. I don't think he's going to go back to being the king of and if he does, it's because he saved the world. Like, the whole point of this is not so he can go and recover his family throne. It's so that he can save the world. Like, it would be too small. It's a tiny island in the middle of like nowhere.
Yes, but he could be the king of Zeus, and at the same time he could be the one ruling military. So he's not gonna be this the one.
It's very difficult to do that remotely from a like a holiday island, though, isn't it?
He can have a right hand.
It's like the king of Spain, like living in the Canary Islands all the time.
Well, it's not the first time that happened in history. Somebody that's the king from a country where he doesn't even live it. So he just send out a cousin to do the stuff for them. You
have the thing that the King of England is also the king in Canada.
Well, that's what Napoleon did.
He doesn't do any, like, he probably does. Probably does some stuff there, doesn't he? I don't know how it all works, but it's unlikely, in my opinion, that will be the storyline. That it will be a bit disappointing.
I think that's going to be just part of the stuff that he will do. Okay. Not like the main plot, and then he recovered the island, and then he doesn't care about anything else. It's just like he's taking back what had been took from him.
Yeah. Okay. Should we come back to this like talk that was around Ruach/Zero in Lucium's neck? That could be some way of communicating with the other world, or it could be like a history, and you put it on, and it like gives you clarity.
Walkie-talkie or something between realms.
Like a walkie-talkie, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Otherwise, the only explanation would be that he knows Ka, and Ka felt his other counterpart die, but that would mean that it was the Obitium in, the Vis, so many different names, the Vis in Obitium that had made the mistake, because that would be the only way that Zero and Ka were communicating. Or Ostius wouldn't know, because he can't get to Obitium.
Mm-hmm. True.
So I think it's this walkie-talkie that's got around his neck. Just like this connection to the other world.
It's like this security is from a pub or something like that, a club. You just like talking to somebody else. Yeah, like my Bluetooth headphones. Yes. Okay. Next. So we have seen like briefly the car from Overtian. We saw him sleeping, that's it. Then we saw the car from Rest as well, just for a few minutes. So I'm thinking that we will see as well the car from Lucian, and he is somebody that's going to help. Because now after everything that happened, I'm thinking that he is kind of like somebody that's making sure that three realms stay separated. Without him, these three will merge, and then that only one there will be is the one that it will be everyone is slaves. So he's like kind of like a guardian or somebody that's. I just don't know that the concurrents are actually that bad. I don't know if they're the bad guys. I don't know. They might be the ones that are trying to bring it back together. We just do not know. We don't know enough. Unless like people can correct us if we've missed something that's so obvious. Like we don't know who the bad guys are or the good guys. I think I agree with you. I think we'll see Ka from Lucium. I wonder if it's somebody we already know. Yeah. What if it's the farmer? And he's just done the same as Vis. He came to Lucium and he's just like, oh, it's nice here. I'll just have a farm. I will live forever here. Yeah, and I'll just have a farm. Yeah. Yeah, why not? That's what happened to Vis. Vis would quite happily have done that if if Leah hadn't arrived. Yeah. And taken him. Okay, there's something still about Diago. The Alupai. I have struggled with this every week. We got one line in The Will of the Many which said Vis's sister had an alupai.
can't say that word. Vis's sister had a wolf, right? Then we get a line in maybe the end of the Will and the Many or the start of the Strength of the Few, where it says they are only found on Solivargus.
Yes.
And then we find out that they're in Lyceum and they don't go anywhere. They're like a sign from the gods. We didn't hear anything else about that.
Yes.
Why did Cristobal give one to his daughter if he wasn't in Lyceum? Because the whole reason I thought Cristobal was in Lyceum was because of the wolf connection. I was like, oh, he must have been connected by the wolves, and he went and he was maybe synchronous because he knew about the wolves and he brought one back or something like that. Whereas actually the reason Cristobal was there was because Ostius took him there. It's nothing to do with the wolves. So we got the theory right that Cristobal was going to be the one that was waiting for him in Lyceum, but the reason we got it right was completely wrong. Nothing happened with the wolves. So there's got to be something about the connection that Diago the wolf has with Diago the person, with Vis, and it's just not being explained.
Yes, so far the only thing that we know is the Alupais. Since they're like originally from Lyceum, but in rest, they are in the islands in Solivargus where you can access to these other realms.
It's like they've breached the gate.
And other thing that we know about these Alupais is they don't like when people are using will. So it's like they've been put there strategically to make sure that nobody with will could be close to this entrance. But how then Cristobal managed to get an Alupai for his daughter? Because we know that he found some information somewhere else. Is it possible then that he found another entrance or another way?
Maybe, but he would have. I feel like he just would have told him when he was having that heart to heart and he was downloading all the things to Vis. Wouldn't he have told him? I feel like either, and I don't want to say this because I always try and find a canon way of explaining it, but I feel like it could just be that James Arlington forgot he said that.
Well, the thing is, the Cristobal, he didn't know that would be the last time he would speak with Vis, and he will only have one chance. So he probably will say, I'm gonna tell you that stuff that's more important for him now, and then later on, I will give him more stuff that he needs to know. Don't want to overwhelm with all the information.
Yeah, maybe.
But too late now to know.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like maybe if you think about the timeline theory, maybe they don't like will because it's being corrupted in a way that it was never corrupted in Lyceum.
Yes.
And they remember it and they don't like it. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. So the last one is I think that maybe this running through all of this about the three realms is actually not the first time that it happens. Maybe this could be a loop as well, and is this the one who has to go through all of this? And I don't know if the hierarchy the one who are maybe manipulating this, because it reminds me this movie from Resident Evil when they clone the main character lots of times because the main character was able to develop superpowers and it was a superhuman. And they want to recreate this with the clones, trying to make sure that the clone goes through the same stuff that the main character did. But because it was such hard stuff, none of the clones could survive.
Is it trait? What's the purpose though?
So I don't know if it's just because this is the only one who can have this. Be able to be synchronized, and when he is synchronized, he's able to, I don't know if it's enhance more the power, release the power to the realm. He's kind of maybe a key to something else, and that is maybe why they try multiple times to make sure that he reached to that point. Or maybe it's the opposite. They know he is the one who need to do something, reach certain level to reset or to whatever. And then when he's getting really close, then something happened and it's start over. So
yeah.
It's a loop.
Yeah. Cool. And I wouldn't put it past this story. It could literally go anywhere. Yeah.
If it's really unhinged, better.
Yeah. And I really want to hear other people's. So yeah, we're going to need them in the comments wherever you're listening to the podcast. We need, once this gets released, we're going to need to hear all the theories. Right, that has to be all of them. We've been here quite a long time. So shall we give our ratings for the book? Let's call it the strength of the review. What is your star rating?
I will give it 4 stars. No, 5, because I was struggling at the beginning a lot with this. There was a few bits that put me off a little bit, like, I'm not sure if I understand it or if I want to keep reading this book.
But 4 stars is still like a really good score.
It's really good. And by the end, I was just like racing through the chapters to know what's going to happen, what's next. But yes, it was a couple of things that I was like, oh, what? I was more confused than anything else.
Yeah.
Lowered my experience with the book.
I gave The Will of the Many 6 stars. I was like, I refuse to give it 5 because I've given other things 5 and this is better. So I gave that 6 stars. I'm going to give this one 4.5. I think it's really close to a 5-star because it's so good. But each week there was something. There was usually something that I was like, I'm not getting it. Or I'm like, and most people don't read books like that. They don't read 10 chapters. Think about what's going to happen. Think about what happened. Who was your favorite character in that chunk? Like the way that we dissect it each week. Nobody really reads like that, do they? Apart from my book club, which is part of Camp Valkyrie. And we do that. We read it and then we chat about it. But not many people do. They just read from start to finish. And I wonder if that would have affected my reading. If I'd read it straight away, from start to finish, maybe it would have been a 5-star. But because I was thinking about it and like analysing everything.
Yeah, that's the thing. That makes sense. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that experience with The Will of the Many because I just read it. I could not get enough of it. It was like my favourite book. And then as soon as I finished it, I started again. Yeah. And then I convinced you to read it. And I was like, you've got to read it.
That's a really interesting concept. Like how much it will change your point of view of the book if you read it all in one go non-stop. Or if you take like with the 10 chapters every week and then you really think about it.
Yeah. I think it will affect it because each week we're like, is there anything you're struggling with? And you're like, well, yeah, because I have to answer that question. I'm going to think of something. And but actually with The Will of the Many, when we did the weekly read along, I'd already read it. But every week I was like, nope, I love this book. Nope, I love this book. And there was one week where I found, I think, like...
Yeah, the problem with the sagas is that sometimes maybe you are reading it and you are like thinking that doesn't make sense, that looks like a mistake. Then the next book comes and then explain everything and that was really clever.
Yeah.
Or that's something that you get just by the end.
Yeah. And we'll see it. We'll see it.
Yes.
Another thing that I thought would be really funny before we wrap up is to read some 1-star reviews.
Okay.
Just to counter it, because people might... Well, I don't think you'd be listening to this podcast if you didn't like the book.
Yeah.
But Anna Maria on Goodreads said, DNF, y'all. I was too bored. I don't even want to write a review. But she still did, so that was good. Like, interestingly, I was trying to find 1-star reviews that were funny, and they were all absolute essays. And you know what? Like, I don't think that's a 1-star book. If someone can write a review that's like, you have to scroll down significantly on Goodreads, that is not a 1-star review because it brought out an emotion.
That's a hater. Or even a hater.
Yeah.
Because, there's something about it.
It like made your blood boil. Yeah.
Say, I hate it.
Riley Ricks. I was really hoping that in the end, Vis would wake up from a terrible nightmare and realise that all of book 2 was just a dream, so we could erase this sequel from canon. Imagine.
That would be like really lazy. It was just a dream.
It's like, yeah, they were my 2 favourite 1-star reviews. But I feel like we shouldn't end on that note. So let's go back to our reviews and say that we can defend it. It absolutely is not boring. You can say what you want about the book, but you cannot say it's boring.
No, definitely not. And I mean, all the action, all the mysteries, it keep you going. you might hate the author, but you have to give it kudos to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I think we can end it there, though. So that is all for the read-along. This is kind of it. This is the last episode of The Strength of the Few. If you have been enjoying the show, then please take a second to rate us wherever you're listening. We're so glad to have so many of you following along on our Instagram account, but we're also really trying to grow our YouTube following. Maybe we'll do a YouTube live one of these days.
Yeah.
We'd love it if you would pop over to subscribe on our YouTube, and it's just a great way to support the show and help us find more fantasy lovers to connect with and talk books with. And don't forget to follow us wherever you can, wherever you are on social media at Faithfully Fantasy Pod. Come and join the conversation. We would also, as we're coming to the end of this series, we'd love to know what you've been enjoying, any ways you think we can improve. So if you've got thoughts, send them our way.
And with this, we have just one more thing to say. Thank you for listening to Faithfully Fantasy,
the husband and wife podcast, talking all things The Strength of the Few for the last time.
And this is the end of this season, but we'll be back soon with a brand new book to explore. And of course, for more Faithfully Fantasy.
Bye.